So today, ladies and gentlemen, we are darting all around the place. A lot of you want me to dive into Fantastic Four, my thoughts on the castings there. Also, how Fantastic Four is going to be in a little bit of competition with none other than Superman Legacy, so I definitely need to give my thoughts on that. Last night as well, we did indeed get three brand new photos for Joker 2, and man, I am very hyped about that. And we've also got some news about the first teaser trailer, as well as how it really might not be a musical in the way that many of you may think it is. And some other things, like Madame Web's not doing great. I think I'm going to get into some leftover James Gunn threads responses that I didn't get into my previous news roundup video. There's a lot of those, and there's more on this video. Timestamps are provided, but I recommend sticking around. So let's start with Fantastic Four. So what we have to talk about, first of all, is the castings. So we have Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic, Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, and Eben Moss-Bachrach as The Thing. Now, the funny thing about this is we've known about, I would say, half, if not 3/4 of these castings since, I think, June. I don't know if I'm going against, or this is like an unpopular opinion, because I'm seeing lots of people saying, is anyone else underwhelmed here? I'm actually quite okay with the casting. I'm not over the moon, like in terms of absolutely blown away, like, holy crap, this is some, you know, crazy ass casting, but I'm not totally against it. Now, let me explain myself here. Pedro Pascal, I kind of get the oversaturation thing. I think that's, you know, a lot of people are starting to post, oh, is it now popular to hate on Pedro Pascal? I don't think it's that. I think that's starting to get a bit misconstrued now. People love Pedro Pascal. I think it's just that situation in where sometimes you get an actor in where they seem to be in, okay, he's got a Star Wars franchise with Mandalorian. Okay, now he's in The Last of Us. Oh my God, now he's in Marvel. What else is he going to take over next? So I think it's a little bit of that, but I am more happy about him being Reed Richards than some other people are. I think he's going to surprise people. I love Pedro Pascal, but yeah, it's not necessarily who I would have thought of when we first heard this news a while back, but I'm game. I'm game. Now, Vanessa Kirby, I think this is one of the castings that most people for Sue Storm, people are happy with. I basically mirror that. I'm skipping right over to Joseph Quinn now. This is, I would say, one of the most controversial castings, which is surprising to me, because, you know, lo and behold, maybe it's a hot take, I'm quite happy with it. Now, again, I'm not, like, blown away, but I'm not like, oh my God, this is the worst casting. But at the same time, if you think that, fair enough. Like, you know, everyone has different opinions here. You know, at the same time, you may be hesitant, but you want to see how it pans out. And that's what, obviously, I'd recommend above all else. If there's one thing that I've learned here, not even outside of my YouTube channel, whenever any popular character is cast, especially when it gets to Batman and Superman, my God, you have split opinions all over the place. And then Eben Moss-Bachrach as The Thing. Again, I'm happy with it. I don't know what you've seen him in, but obviously there's The Bear recently, there was Andor, but many other things. For now, I would say, you know, yeah, I'm happy. So. I'm not over the moon, but like, I'm not like, I hate this. Do you feel the same way as me? Or are you over the moon? Or on the opposite end, my God, you absolutely hate this. But one thing we definitely need to talk about is that it seems to hint through the official promo artwork here for the announcement for the cast members is that it's set in the 60s. Now, what we have here is The Thing reading a Life magazine, and if you actually look a little bit closer or look at this particular one they've based it off of, it's the issue from December 13th, 1963, where it says President Lyndon B. Johnson at the White House. So, okay, first evidence for the 60s. Now let's go to evidence number 2 here. You have Pedro Pascal on his Instagram acknowledging the casting, and he teases a Beatles song in the hashtag All You Need Is Love. Now, except that song was released in 1967, but at the end of the day, it's still the 60s. And then lastly, I take you back to Multiverse of Madness, and shout out to whoever reminded me of this in my live stream last night. When we had Doctor Strange introduced to Krasinski's Reed Richards, he simply said to him, "Hello, Stephen." And that's when Doctor Strange was like, Fantastic Four, didn't you guys chart in the 60s? So obviously, what Doctor Strange was doing in that moment in Multiverse of Madness is, you know, recollecting, hey, you know, I've heard of the Fantastic Four before. He was referring to his own MCU canon, because it reminded him, like, hey, Fantastic Four, didn't you guys chart in the 60s? So once again, inferring that the Fantastic Four movie is going to be set in the 1960s. So I think that is really, really interesting. I mean, of course, you have the classical looks to the suits as well. Now, I do wonder if they're going to keep it in the 60s throughout the movie, or if it's going to be kind of a Captain America situation, and where, you know, I'm not saying they're going to get frozen or anything like that, but there's some kind of weird, I don't know if it's a wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey thing, but maybe by the end of the movie, they get reintroduced into the MCU in present day. Having said that, or while that is a possibility, there's nothing wrong whatsoever, and there's potentially a gold mine to be mined here with regards to keeping it in the 60s. With regards to the MCU, of course, we've gone into the past, but I would say that, you know, that period of time, you know, the 60s and onwards, hasn't really had a whole bunch of exploration. I would be okay with that. I really, really would. And maybe that's one of the best ways to approach it. But maybe you want some of that, but you would like something to happen that basically transports them into present day as well at some point in time. But now we need to move on to, what does this mean for Superman Legacy? Or, you know, vice versa for Fantastic Four's release date? Because, just in case you didn't know, Fantastic Four and Superman Legacy release within 2 weeks of each other in July of 2025. It's interesting looking at both the optics of both studios at the minute, Marvel, DC. What will it be like in 2025? So with DC, you have this brand new DC universe that James Gunn and Peter Safran are cooking up with new canon, new continuity. But no matter what, it is a brand that people have, at least in the general audience, had a lack of interest in compared to Marvel movies. But then again, with Marvel these days, they haven't been doing absolutely spectacularly themselves. I think we can all agree there. Whether that's the box office of this, that, or the other. And then there's the whole Jonathan Majors thing. And then there's, oh god, Daredevil, we need to absolutely creatively overhaul that. And we're, they're wanting to have a win, and luckily for them, obviously, people are not only really excited to see Deadpool 3, but not only the X-Men in the future, but the Fantastic Four. So the thing is, what you have to ask yourself is, with this movie coming out within a couple of weeks of each other, both these movies rather, you do have to consider that people in the general audience will be thinking, okay, which movie do I take my kids to? Is it going to be Superman Legacy, or is it going to be Fantastic Four? Now, you may argue to me, well, why not both, right? You know, they come out within 2 weeks, but there's enough time to see both, especially the many weeks that goes into a box office run. At the end of the day, going to see movies can be very expensive depending on where you're living, or even expensive regardless. If you want to take your husband or your wife, maybe you have 2 kids, maybe you have 3 kids, and the kids will definitely want to see the latest Marvel movie. I mean, let's not pretend that kids don't tend to have as critical thinking or as harsh, critically on movies as maybe we might be. So regardless, kids will want to go see this movie. And if you're a mom or a dad or whatever, this can, especially with food maybe, this can end up being $50+, going to the cinema. And sometimes there's a lot of families out there who will only want to spend $50 to $60 if you have a few people going and you're buying food and whatnot on one movie. Now, what you have to look at here is, okay, will Marvel take that decision? Because they might look at the past and be like, okay, compared to DC with The Flash and Blue Beetle and Black Adam, my kids have enjoyed Marvel movies way, way more. So I think we're going to take the bet with that one. So on one hand, okay, that kind of makes sense. And maybe that looks a little bit concerning for Superman Legacy. So maybe people will mostly choose to go and spend that money going to the theater to see the Fantastic Four, right? But then on the other hand, Superman is, despite the DC brand and like the reshuffling and whatnot, is a household name. Everyone knows Superman, and hopefully with the marketing being amazing, that might sway those people despite the disdain they may have developed for DC as of the past few years. They might be like, damn, maybe I will skip out on the MCU movie this time and go see Superman Legacy. Because believe it or not, I think Superman is powerful enough, despite the messy years of the DCEU, if you will, to actually sway people around on like, damn. Especially if the trailers are kick-ass, by the way. That, like, marketing is instrumental. So no matter what here, guys, you can see where I'm going with this. No matter if you're going to comment down in that comment section saying, no, man, it's going to go this way, it's going to go this way, I don't think any of us can really call that right now. Absolutely not. Obviously, there's comic book fans, but what you have to remind yourself is we are, even online, a certain portion of the community out there who go to see movies. It is mostly made up of the tens of millions of people who go and see these movies who may be big fans of it. Maybe they really do think they're big fans of it, but they don't watch breakdowns on YouTube. They might not read comic books, but they really do enjoy going to see these movies in the theaters all the same. They're still the majority of people who are taking themselves, their girlfriends, their families, their kids to see this, and they're going to have to decide. Now, will one movie change their release date? I don't know. I mean, you could argue, I've seen some people say to me in the live stream last night, could Superman Legacy move up, to maybe June? I mean, maybe, but maybe they should hold their ground. I know James Gunn is very, very fond of that release date because I believe he said once it was his dad's birthday. We also have like the next Jurassic World film or whatever, and that could be, despite the critical, this is what I mean, guys, by kids not being as critical as maybe we are. I'm not calling kids stupid here, but what I am saying is, despite the critics going pretty hard on the previous Jurassic World movies, they still made like over $1 billion. This is what I'm trying to argue here. The next Jurassic Park or Jurassic World movie will also, while releasing around the time of Fantastic Four and Superman Legacy, like this is a lot of competition to kick off the new DCU with. So it is fascinating. So I want to leave it over to you guys. What do you think? Now, quickly, while actually filming this video, it looks as though Marvel Studios has just dropped the new X-Men 97 trailer, and it arrives on March 20th. And after having just seen it, I really am quite giddy. I don't cover animation a lot here on the channel, but this does look really, really awesome. Very nostalgic. Like when the theme kicked in, I also love the lower frame rate. It does actually, all while being a modern release, with that, it kind of benefits the kind of old feeling of it, and it somewhat complements the animation there. I think it looks really, really awesome. It does feel very X-Men to me. So for now, at least with this first peek, and maybe you're seeing clips of it on screen, I am pretty happy with it. Let me know if you'd like to see me do more coverage on it, but yeah, I really liking the look of it. I don't know about you, but the tease of Magneto at the end as well. Oh, okay. Now moving on to the Joker 2 teaser that got put out yesterday on Valentine's Day. Todd Phillips on Instagram saying, hoping your day is full of love. We got 3 new images that I want to go over and also cover other information such as the first teaser trailer, the first footage, and the musical thing as I went over earlier. Now, the first image here, this really looks like to me when we see Harleen Quinzel and Joker in the makeup. You can see that Lady Gaga's Harleen, although she's wearing somewhat, I guess, everyday attire, she has got a little bit of the makeup, the clown makeup on. Although I didn't really expect a fully blown trailer or teaser or anything like that. I thought maybe we might get a 15-second teaser. I was thinking maybe a camera test. So funnily enough, I think this is an image from the camera test, but not the actual footage, obviously. But hey, love that first image. But the second image is very, very fascinating to me because we have Harleen Quinzel here. It's weird looking at it. She's smiling at Arthur. It's almost like, gleefully, teasingly. But there's something so somewhat evil about that smile, or maniacal. Do you know what I mean? This is why, by the way, if you didn't know already, because I know there's quite a few people against it, but I'm a big supporter of Lady Gaga playing Harleen Quinzel in Joker 2. I think she's going to do brilliantly. Now, Arthur here, what I love about Joaquin Phoenix's face as he's behind that cell at Arkham, I assume, he almost looks doped up. Like, he almost looks so sad, but also, he's like glaringly looking at Harleen longingly at the same time. He looks so downtrodden, yet also, lost in her eyes. So that is fascinating. To me, I could go so many angles with this because it's like, why is Harley on the other side of the cell here? Now, you might be like, well, she's his therapist, isn't she, Boba? Well, no, in this movie, as it's an Elseworlds movie, they may be doing things differently. And I point you to what I've pointed out many times before in how it looks as though Harleen and Arthur meet in Arkham as inmates. How do I know this? Because when they were filming, this isn't a major spoiler, people already, everyone was seeing this when they were filming it. It's around the time when we saw Harley in that official kind of Harley Quinn red look that they were doing for the movie. She was confronted by a protester. It looks like Harleen Quinzel was free at this time. She's going into the court in where it looks like Arthur is going on trial to face what he did in the first movie, the crimes such as killing Murray Franklin. She was confronted while she was being escorted into the court by police to, I guess, go on, and watch the trial happen by some protester with a Gotham Gazette newspaper. And it's basically the situation of where the press have got hold of, okay, the Joker trial's a big trial, and hey, look, Joker's new love is actually also a former inmate at Arkham Asylum, and you're seeing the newspaper on screen right now, and you see basically Harleen Quinzel's mugshot of being at Arkham. Now, we know this was in the past because she's being presented this newspaper in present day when Arthur is on trial after the events of Joker 1. So do you see what I mean? She was an inmate, so I can only assume that maybe she met Arthur in Arkham Asylum while she was nearly at the end of her sentence, or whatever you want to call it, and then she gets out into Gotham, and that's kind of handy for Arthur, because all while she was released from Arkham and everything, let's just say she might not be the most sanest person and might be pretty interested in maybe getting her boyfriend out of the predicament he's in the courthouse. And yes, she might very well do that. So I do believe they meet in Arkham. I mean, we know she was at Arkham. Maybe she's visiting him here since she's now a free lady. I don't know. And she's like, I'm going to get you out soon, baby. I mean, your trial date's coming up. Maybe I can sort out a little bit of a distraction there. Maybe an explosion. Something like that. I don't know. And then, lastly, we have Joker and Harleen dancing on the top of what I believe to be Arkham Asylum. It matches the set photos of what we've seen before. Although, does that look like a moon in the background there? That is absolutely huge. So you could argue that's on a stage where they might be doing one of these musical numbers, if you will, because my God, again, yeah, that moon looks massive and that's not real. But it does look like they've maybe built some of the Arkham set around it, or maybe using like a little backboard. Now, they're probably dancing to cheek here. I mean, that was the first teaser that we got for Joker that you're seeing on screen right now. That was the music in the background. And many have actually pointed out that Harleen's dress could be inspired by the dress that Ginger Rogers wore in the movie Swing Time in 1936, of which she also did cheek to cheek with Fred Astaire in the movie Top Hat in 1935. Now, I do believe that these are absolutely 1000% influences that Joker and Harley will have in the canon, in the story of the movie. For example, Arthur and Harleen, I think they are going to bond over old music like this while they're in Arkham Asylum. Of course, there's the whole Judy Garland music, Be a Clown that we've heard sung on set. That's entertainment. So yeah, absolutely brilliant influences here. It's going to be that kind of classical Joker and Harley dance, but also rooted in kind of classical musical stuff as well. So let me know what you think of these images. Maybe I missed something, but I mean, I don't think I did. I'm obsessed with them. But we need to move on to the other Joker things, which are just as interesting in my opinion. So the first exciting thing is that in a reply on Instagram, Todd Phillips reveals that the first Joker teaser trailer is coming out in April. So we actually replied to somebody saying, been getting this question a lot. The movie comes out in October, so our first teaser won't be out until mid-April. So maybe those attending CinemaCon might get the first preview. I don't know about that, but regardless, we're going to get our first teaser in mid-April. I cannot wait for that. I, unlike a lot of people out there, maybe you right now, am very hyped for this movie. I think people are sleeping on it. I understand their perspectives, but I just don't think they have woken up to it, and I think they will when they see the promo. Just you wait. I mean, I could be wrong about it. It's going to be funny, but when that trailer drops, even the first teaser, people will be like, oh shit. Oh, damn. And make sure you subscribe to the channel so you get my in-depth breakdown of that first teaser in mid-April. I mean, I'm going to be on it. It's probably going to be a long video as well. Now, speaking of people who maybe aren't as excited for Joker 2, one of the biggest reasons for that, even though I don't think it would be a shame, is that they think it's going to be a full-blown musical. We're talking In the Heights. We're talking like Greatest Showman, like dancing numbers here, there, everywhere, every 2 seconds. No typical scenes included like into that other movie with dialogue, if you know what I mean. Now, this has always been a bit frustrating for me to explain because so while the movie will have music in it, musical numbers, it's been reported very, very early on, like well over a year or so ago, that it's being compared to more A Star Is Born rather than In the Heights. Now, I believe it was yesterday on a live stream, Lawrence Sher, the cinematographer, said, it's got some music. It's not a musical per se, but it's like it just has music in it. That's all. Music is a part of the movie and the characters, but I don't know if it's a musical. But yes, there is music. But there's a lot of music in the first Joker too. There was actually like things that we didn't do in the first Joker to some extent that are part of the DNA of the second one. And he goes on to explain here, you know how in the first Joker he's like watching Charlie Chaplin and he has like a little music in him, right? You know the way, you know the dancing on the steps and all that kind of stuff. There were some things that we shot that were cut out, but that there was a little Charlie Chaplin this to his kind of just being a little bit of a clown and a little bit of this whole thing. So some of that same idea of music being really prevalent is more of a continuation of Joker than something new. Exactly. Like, again, in the behind the scenes of the first movie, Todd Phillips was talking about from when Arthur was at the beginning of the movie spinning around that sales sign in the clown outfit and he was kind of tapping and dancing before he got beaten up in the alleyway to, of course, when he was dancing with his mother, Penny Fleck, or then, you know, when he was actually doing the transformation into the Joker kind of dance in the bathroom, the public bathroom after killing the Wayne employees, to, of course, the Joker steps, to the way he even came out on the Murray Franklin talk show. Like, there is a lot of music in Arthur, and classical music at that, and stuff of which we're now learning was cut out from the first movie, and if anything, the second movie's actual music in it with Harleen, which makes more sense than ever. The more you go down this road and that Harleen Quinzel is going to be in the sequel, the fact that they could be singing and a bit of musical numbers, it's not anything new, believe it or not. It's more of a natural evolution that was already seeded there in the first movie. But it is interesting to reflect upon what he said in that first quote with regards to it's not really something he views as a musical. Now, don't let this make you think that there isn't going to be anything. There will be. But I think it's to the point of where if you're really not into musicals, like me, I'm not even into musicals that much, I think you will still appreciate it and find it a very Joker and Harley thing to see. And I think that's exactly what we're going to see in this film. So hopefully that clarifies the Joker sequel to you a little bit more. I think it's still very much so going to play like that first movie with many scenes, and it's still going to be, if not darker than that first movie. And the folie à deux kind of shared madness aspect is going to offer a quality and perspective and, you know, kind of plot to it that is so wild and, you know, crazy to watch unfold, given just the characters that Joker and Harley Quinn are. So absolutely hyped by this. Cannot wait to cover even more. Now, very briefly in this video, kind of swinging it back around to Marvel, but Sony, Marvel. Now, I do need to say, I know before people point it out, Rotten Tomatoes is the kind of thing where people use it to support their argument when it suits them, but also when it suits them to support their argument for a movie doing bad, they also use the negative score. Do you know what I mean? It's a very fascinating situation. I'm not saying you do that, but we all know someone. But yes, Madame Web, where do you want to use these metrics from Rotten Tomatoes? 15%. It is at 15% critically rotten. But the audience score is 59%, but that is still as you can see on the icon there, a pot of popcorn just all falling over. That's still not great. Madame Web's not doing good. It's being absolutely, as per the top stories on Google here, being torched by critics. I haven't seen it. Now, that's where some of you may say, but you can't really say anything about it because you haven't seen it. I get what you're saying there. I totally kind of do stand with that statement. I need to see it myself because I am very firm with my opinion that a movie can be kind of critically, you can review it badly. Like I could review something badly. I often use, for example, Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. This is an example my friend gave me once. He loves that movie, finds it really entertaining. But if he looks at the writing and everything like that and the way it's paced and this, that, and the other, it's very, very bad. You can look at things through a very critical lens, but also there's the totally subjective, hey, I was still very entertained by this. So another peak here is like the Sony Venom movies. I don't think they're good, but like I still find them entertaining and funny. Like you may really disagree with me there, but Madame Web, I'm willing to bet that I think it would be probably, in my mind, I would probably complain quite a bit about this, that, and the other. But would I find it entertaining? I don't know. But the consensus is out there. Every Sony Marvel movie, man, it's just like, whether you're saying, I love Venom, I love this, I just think they're all kind of the types of movies that are hammering in the nail in the perception, at least out there, of superhero fatigue. I'm completely with James Gunn here in where he says there isn't really such a thing as superhero fatigue. I believe that. Believe it or not, I really do. I think what is happening, as per what he says here, is there's a fatigue of repetition. there's a fatigue of spectacle movies getting repetitive, not making great stories where you care about the characters, the emotion. And I look at so many Marvel movies, with all due respect, if you really like them, this is just my take. Yes, even Venom, whatever it is, where, yes, you can be entertained. They are popcorn movies per se. But are they kind of some Kino level shit? No. Like, and as a result, if you get more and more movies out there like that, you will then get like some general audience dude over there in the back saying, yeah, comic book movies are dying, man. You know what I mean? It's just like the Westerns, right? No. You know, what does this say about Craven? I have to admit, and this is quite judgmental of me to say, Craven, yes, it could be another fun popcorn movie. You could tell me, hey, Boba, in the future version of you, I liked it. I enjoyed it. Good. But, like, is it going to really break the mold? Is it going to break the chain, the wheel, whatever you want to say there? Probably not. And I think that's the direction movies, not just comic book movies, but spectacle movies, right? It's like the Fast and Furiouses. Like, people still really enjoy them, but when you have like freaking God knows how many of them and they're not really doing anything but this repetition of spectacle where you don't care so much, it's just, I'm repeating myself at this point, but that is where a sense of fatigue, spectacle fatigue, will kick in. But I don't like it when it's misconstrued into all comic book films, period, because I think Elseworlds movies like Joker or The Batman or something like Logan or even like a mainline entry movie like Guardians of the Galaxy 3, like, that still prioritizes character and story way more than, like, other formulaic superhero or spectacle movies do. So there's a few examples for you as to somewhat contrast, like, the Sony Marvel movies, right? And, yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what I was saying with this, but hey, there's Madame Web. Have you seen it? And lastly, everybody, as promised, I wanted to go through a couple of updates in the DCU, if you will, from the James Gunn Threads DCU segment. Here we have a few more replies to James Gunn's thread post about, hey, what less popular DC characters or heroes do you enjoy? And this user said, you know, the Atom, Bumblebee, Vixen, Firestorm, Hawk and Dove. He also mentions Batgirl as in Cassandra Cain. And of course, James Gunn says, I've been waiting for somebody to say Cassandra, probably my favorite Bat Family outfit. James Gunn has gone on and on and on about Cassandra before as basically his favorite Batgirl. And it really does make me think, like, about the Bat Family and the Brave and the Bold, and where we know there's going to be a Bat Family built up around Batman to some extent. And I'm thinking, okay, if Dick Grayson's going to be Nightwing by this time, would Barbara have already gone through the Killing Joke for there to already be a new Batgirl that's Cassandra Cain? Because I'm really thinking Cassandra's going to be the Batgirl, maybe in present day or whatever. But if that happens, then does that mean Barbara's already been through what she's been through? I don't know. I would love to know your thoughts on that. So here we have this user saying, whenever you have somebody come on board to the DCU, do you ever tell them to read comics on the hero they'll be working with to get them up to speed, or is that not a requirement? And Gunn says, so far I have, yeah. I think that makes sense. Sometimes directors might tell whoever is playing a movie not to watch the previous movie version or this, that, and the other. But I think when it comes to strictly comic books, if you're playing, you know, David Cornsweet or Eddie Gathegi playing Superman, Mr. Terrific, I think it makes sense to like immerse yourself in the history of that character, see like the different versions, what remain consistent throughout the different interpretations of the character throughout the decades. And I think it only helps aid the actor in that situation, especially if it's in the comic book format. Now, this user here says, do you already know what you'll write next now that you have finished Peacemaker Season 2? How long of a writing break will you take as you focus on directing Legacy and Peacemaker? And Gunn says, I won't be able to write anything for a while due to my directing and producing schedules. So he is going to be very busy, obviously. But people are wondering this, I think, for a very good reason. Like, Gunn isn't just going to write Peacemaker and Superman Legacy and that's it, right? But he also answers this question to this other user saying, will you be writing and directing more stuff for the DCU? And he says, that's what I'm here for. So now people are looking to think, okay, what is he going to write and direct in the future on top of Peacemaker and Superman? And some people are suggesting, what if it's Batman the Brave and the Bold? Because, yeah, you have Andy Muschietti directing it, but lo and behold, guess who James Gunn's favorite character is in the comics? It is none other than Batman. Now, I've said this before, it is kind of weird to imagine, oh, wait, yeah, James Gunn, not directing, but writing the Batman movie. So he may be happy with Muschietti basically directing it, but maybe, and especially this is his universe, whether somebody else wrote it or not, or whatever, they're still going to have to kind of meet the checkboxes for the main plot points of what happens in DCU Chapter 1 and DCU Chapter 2 with these big characters. So they'll still be adhering to what story beats that James Gunn wants them to meet with main plot moments that happen with Batman in The Brave and the Bold. But if Batman's his favorite character, I do think it's something to consider. So I would prefer Batman in the DCU to be written by somebody who regards them, or that character rather, as their favorite character in comics. That would mean that they know a bunch about him. You would hope that if it's their favorite character, and James Gunn is very well versed in comic book knowledge, like way more than what people give him credit for, as I say. He would know a lot about the character and know what Bruce would be like at the time of Brave and the Bold, and hopefully, as a big fan and his favorite character, would incorporate what we speculate a lot on the channel about the chronology of the Bat family in a believable way, but a way that kind of, you know, if compromises need to be made, if you want certain Bat family members involved, that everyone could kind of get on board with. There's all kinds of things. So it is going to be interesting if that does end up being true. That's just speculation. It doesn't mean Gunn's writing Brave and the Bold. I just wanted to put it out there because I saw people suggesting that based off of what people have been asking Gunn in the past few days. But ladies and gentlemen, I have been rambling for a very, very, very long time. I'm going to leave this video here. I hope you enjoyed it. I just tried to get multiple topics and cram it into one news roundup. So let me know your thoughts on each and every story. Would really appreciate that. Had a blast filming this one today. I read every single comment. I interact and reply where I can. So make sure you leave one. Other than that, tell YouTube that you liked this video by leaving a like on it. Consider subscribing for more news roundups like this. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.